Okay, guys, I hope you can all hear me. Ready and raring to go. Let's get into it now. Welcome to TradeSetup live stream. We're at the 1st of June, so getting towards the end of the financial year. It's probably quite a good day for us today. We're quite happy with the way things are going so far. So far, so good. So we'll see if that plays out towards the end of the session. Hope we're all doing well as well. Having a good day so far. The markets are not the best, a bit flat at the moment, which you would expect after last night's action out of the US, or lack of it. But yeah, no, going quite well. So anyone that's new, that's joining in the stream for the first time, we have a whole bunch of videos which you can view from the past and then just check out how we've gone in the past and what we've talked about in the past. That's all on YouTube, so anyone can view that whenever you like. You can join us on Twitter. We don't, like I said, we don't post a lot. You'll see that in the top left-hand side of the screen at the moment. We don't post a lot at the moment. We're trying to really start getting that a bit more active. And the same with Facebook, the top right-hand corner, if you want to link into us there. Join in the conversations that we have. Not that they're many at the moment. G'day, Paul. How are you, mate? I still have to give you a call, by the way, so I haven't forgotten. Just been a bit busy. And the bottom right-hand corner, link into us on YouTube. So by linking to us on YouTube, anything we do, you'll get an alert from YouTube as well. Anytime we upload something that you want to check out, or we do a stream of some sort, anything at all, that'll be alerted on YouTube for you. So last but not least, as we have to say all the time, the general advice warning, we don't give specific advice at all. So just take note when you're listening in away and you're asking questions. It's just basically our opinion that we formulated and what we see. So everyone's got a different way of looking at things. We've got a particular way that works for us, but it's only just it's a general advice. So let's get into it without further ado. How are we all today anyway? Get rid of that. And what I'll do, I know you love my beautiful face. Handsome, I should say. I've got tickets of myself, by the way, guys, if you haven't noticed. I know Davin, if he's listening, he'll probably say something cheeky soon. All right, the markets last night, overnight, didn't do a lot in the US. I think they were down for a fair bit of the session, but then they got bought up sort of, late in the afternoon session in the US anyway, overnight, which is early hours for us, and into the close to finish just a touch below their break-even point. So not a lot of action over there. The only real thing, I think, is the financials are starting to cop it a bit. They got put under pressure overnight because they've had quite a good run up on the back of the Trump election. So as a buy the rumor, sell the facts. So they bought up quite a bit, and they're just really nothing's happening there. Like we said many times before, he's got to start producing the goods, and if he doesn't start producing the goods, then people are just going to get bored of holding, and especially when you're sitting on profits. No one wants to see nothing happen to the market to go stale, and then potentially, obviously when the market does nothing, all the bears come in and all the bear news comes out too, so it can start putting a bit of pressure on people who are not quite confident with their position and just anxious to take profits. So that may start flowing through, and I think you're getting that a bit of in the financial sector, and a few of those are not performing quite as well in the US either. So their revenues are down a bit, so they're not hitting the target either of what they're expected. So there's a few factors over there that could really start putting a bit of pressure on the market. But in saying all that, we have been watching time and time again, as if you've been following the alerts on the S&P 500. Excuse me. And again, it's cold. I just can't shake this cold and this cough. But if you've been following us for a while on the S&P 500, even though there could be a bit of pressure out there in the US, the markets are just getting squeezed higher. So just remember that if you're looking for just taking a bit of an opportunity to go short, whether it's a shorter term trade or whatever, just remember that the markets, you've got to be on your toes, pretty much on your toes if you're going to go short into a market that's really heading higher. If you're just trying to, really just try not to guess, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, because the markets have been squeezed out time and time again. Shorts get a bit of confidence with a bit of contraction lower, then bang, straight back out again. And it's happening, and it's been some really good fuel. We know that those shorts are slowly edging higher. The number of shorts, anyway, they're outweighing the buyers at the moment, anyway. So there's still quite a bit of fuel around for this S&P just to have another ditched effort and really push higher. So, and that'll just wear people out. anyone that's been trying to short it, I know a few people in the past I've spoken to have, shorting. They said they just can't get it right. I mean, it's obvious they can't get it right. It's because it's not going down. It's pretty clear. So, the ASX, take a look at that. What's everyone's views on the US at the moment? Still bearish, bullish? I mean, the charts to me are not bearish at all. They're still bullish. It's just there's a few factors starting to grow, get a bit of momentum where they could roll over. AFY, yeah, that's a cracking one. I didn't think if anyone's following that too, AFY, we had an alert on that for a while. I never remember where. Where did we get in on that one? We'll show that in a second anyway. 255, and it had a good announcement yesterday. Nothing much happened. Picked up a bit yesterday, but then today just went bang. You'll see that on the screen. And I didn't expect. I wanted to profit hard partial at around 295, so keep an eye on that. Touch 294. Hope it doesn't back off into the close, and we missed by a half a cent, or a cent, sorry. It'd be good to see that kick on, take a partial on that, and then see how it goes from there. It's looking great. Now, as I do a lot, I've already forgotten what I was talking about, the XJO. Oh, let's take a look at it. That's not it. That's it. And that's not nice. So, what I think is very interesting just to take note, this is that key. This is the weekly chart. This is a daily chart. Let's draw it up just to keep our, eye on the prize, so to speak, just so we know where our key levels are. So for any bears out there, just know where the market's at the moment. Now, so we've got a key level. This is that weekly major support zone at 50.50, thereabouts. And then we've got some other little levels at 5600. We've got another little level down here, which it did touch on. So it'd be interesting to see, and this is what, whether that is a washout of this level, and just considering that's 56.75 it's an inside level. It's not a super support level, but it is a support level nonetheless. And but you see, it'd be interesting to see if this is a little washout. So if it is, we've got to get through that little high, the most recent lower high, somewhere around 58, just a touch below, I think, 58, 57.90 thereabouts, 95. But that'd be your key level. We could just bang around here and then roll over. But until that's broken, I think we want to see on the ASX at least, if that is going to be a washout of this level, just to touch down at support level. If that's the case, I'm trying to... okay, let me just third line in there. There we go. So we push down. Just draw it in a different colour. All right. So if we push down here into support, we've popped up to that. That's that little high there at 58. If we've washed out down here, and we're just starting to retrace a bit, you'd want to see price action from there. You just want to see it start building, maybe test, pop up through there, and then maybe build an inside high, low, and then go. Just that I think is the key at the moment. Just see if we can wash out that 5800, and then see if we get that high, low, and then work off there. Any new entries, I think the banks have copped a beating lately, and I think I read something good about that. And again, my memory is pretty shot, and I don't know why. There's so the banking. Now, what happened there? Does anyone know a bit more why those banking's copping a bit of a hiding? I think they've increased the charges to them, or something like that. The funds they've got to have on their books. I can't remember. Was it tier 1 funding or something like that? They've got to have on their books in case there's a bit of a crunch on them. They can withstand it. A bit of a run on the banks, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that's what a bit of heat's coming out of that market. A bit of heat's coming out of the banks. Correct me if I'm right or wrong. I did read something recently, but I forgot the key gist of it. But the cost of the banks are pretty much going up slightly, and they're worried about housing market. Are they so leveraged to the housing market? Have they got enough? If there is a bit of a housing market bubble burst, how that's going to affect the banks? So they need more, cash on their books. They need to be able to weather the storm, I guess. So that looks like why they're under a fair bit of pressure of late. Let's just take a look. Westpac, you can see that really go to a weekly. Westpac's coming back. We were trading it through here on this move up. It's come all the way back down the last few weeks, down to $30 from about 35. So that's a bit of a beating in anyone's terms. What are we at? CBA, not so much the same. It's come down to this breakout level, so that's that's not too bad. I mean, they're in the zone where you'd still expect on a longer term basis their buyers might start to step in there, see what the daily's saying. Yeah, look, I think it's early stages just yet. We've got to see a bit more price action play out before the bank levy. I knew you'd know, Paul. Investment lending tightening, American bank stock prices dropping. Yeah. So Paul's, it looks like he's hit the nail on the head there. That's what I read. I'd like to say that's what I read exactly, but I don't. It's pretty much the gist of it. Excuse me. All right, what else we got? CBA doesn't look so bad. What do we got? NAB. They're all in corrective mode, but they're still, you're going to have to correct a good strong leg up, which they've had. In bank, NAB had it from 24, pushed all the way to 34, so it's $10 rally. It's got to take some heat out of the market before you get the next stage of buying. We want to see that support build, and ANZ pretty much along the same line. So we'll see how they go. They're money-making machines, don't forget, so this could just be a short-term storm in a teacup, I guess. Yeah. What's everyone's view on the property anyway? Because I'd like to see it drop around a bit. I hope that no one gets offended to that, but sold my unit. I just wouldn't mind it dropping a bit so we're not getting hammered on these, especially down in Melbourne anyway. Melbourne and Sydney have copped it a bit. I'd like to see it pull back so we can get into a nice place. It is definitely running hot down in Melbourne, which is annoying when you're trying to buy. And it's hard being a trader seeing people say, what do they say? You buy and sell in the same market. God, I think that's all right for the last few years, I guess. Plateauing, yeah, I agree with you, Paul. It'd be interesting to see. I think the hotter they're starting to compare it to Ireland. I remember years ago in 2010, just before we got married, we went over there. I had no idea what was going on back then. I remember going over there and seeing all these properties that are just half finished and just not boarded up, but they've got all the gates around them. You think, there's a bit of a boom happening here. There's a lot of work going on, but then you see more and more of these properties. They're just, and what it is, you start listening to the news, and they got hammered. They're probably all these properties that just got half built, and then everyone's gone bankrupt, or a bit of a crash in the property market. So they're, with that in my head, and they're starting to not compare it to that, but saying there is potential for the bubble to burst like it has in Ireland. Whether that's going to be the same case, don't know. But there is as you know from trading, that the harder things come up, sometimes they can come down quite hard too. So I'm probably talking my book a bit, trying to get it to come down a bit. It's not going to do any good on the stream, but where are we? We've got the banks. Let's just click over a few trades that we've got running at the moment. I'll just have to go. Let me just go here. So we've had prices have gone through the roof in my area, but in recent weeks properties have been passed in at auctions. Yeah, ours nearly got passed in at auction, to be honest. I was a bit surprised, but this was end of last year, and it's still fairly hot. I think people are just getting sick of paying a massive premium and getting caught at auctions. We had heaps of people there, but it just wasn't that excitement that I was hoping for to kick prices up. So we've got a price, not pretty much what the real estate agent said. The high end just over 6, but we're hoping for a bit more on that. Anyways, just before we go, just keep an eye on this for a short. This is the weekly. This is AFI. If that's potentially a lower high, this market's grinding lower. You can see it on the weekly. That little support zone through there is potentially going to get broken. So if that breaks down and trades down to say 570 or just below, it could just go jamming straight through, or we might pop up, make a lower high, and then the short. I think the shorts is going to be well and truly in play there. You can see that little washout here before we headed south and took out these lows. Did the same thing. That pop up there was just a wash out of the previous highs, and we're building a lower high on the weekly basis. So it'll be interesting to see if the AFI, that may be a bit of a short, maybe on the cards for a short. AFY is one that, let's go to the daily. Loving it. Just hopefully that can kick on. Love to see that trade 295 today. Just above. But that daily looks great, and the reason why initially we traded that is because of this little washout here. So anyone that follows what we talk about a bit is, let's go to, did it again, didn't I? Let me get rid of that. Let's just draw that up. Okay. Light blue. Anyone that follows us, you can see this pressure. We've got the high up here, a lower high, and we took out these little lower highs in here, lower low, lower. I had a pop up, did a major lower high in comparison to 310, and we pushed down, made another lower high through here at 280, and then we pushed all the way down here initially and took out this this major swing low, and then popped up and built a lower high again just in here. So at that stage, the market's coming off a lower high. It should be negative, so you would have thought if it was negative it would have pushed down quite a bit more and been a stronger move down and really washed out. Well, took out a few more long positions that have been building up, but it didn't. It just popped its head through that support zone at 2, and then you get this sudden sharp move out which took out that previous lower high. So that's the reason why we liked it. And then it started building through here, and I think it was 255, wasn't it? So the entry was just through that that zone here. I think at 255 is what I said previously. 255, yep. And then we just had a bit of a pullback, built a high low, and then had a good little news announcement yesterday, which it gapped up on the open and pretty much held, traded a bit higher, but then held where it opened, closed where it opened, sorry. Did some good news out yesterday. Nothing sort of out of the blue, but just some really good results they've been getting. And then today it's just kicked on with it and really pushed up through. So initially we were looking what was going to happen around 280, but the way it went today, it just banged up straight up through 280. I guess that's not even going to provide any resistance at all. And you can see that. So the next area we're looking at is sort of this high through 3. And I tend to like to take a bit of a profit. Well, it's a bit silly, that line. Just below, in that zone. So get it through 295 and then just see what happens. Take a partial off there prior to a whole number too, because it's a resistance zone. We may get a reaction off that zone at 3. It may just blast straight through it, but you're sitting on 15%, give or take 15%. It'll be a 15% result if it gets 295, I think, or just above. So there's nothing to. I think it's a great little result there. So if we can get 15%, lock it in, it may have to bit of heat. You can see the last couple of days have been quite strong. I mean, if it kicks on with it, so be it. We've got the next half to keep going. If it doesn't, we've taken some, locked it in, look for another higher low to build. Some price action like this is going to be a bit solid, which could potentially take it up and through 3 into new highs. So that's the lay of the land on that one. Looks great though. Has anyone else been trading that one there? Now, just check out what else we've got here. I won't chat about, so get ready guys to put in any trades that you want to take a quick look at. Anything at all, whether it be currencies too. We've had a good little run on the currencies too. As you probably know if you're watching it, we like to look for things that we think are stacked up either side. So if it's stacked up with the sellers, like we've talked about on the S&P just before, or stacked up on the buy side. If it's stacked up on the buy side, you're looking for a nice setup short, because you know that anyone who's bought it is going to be fuel to move down as they get stopped out or chase their tail on the way down, and vice versa for the way up. So that's what we sort of focus on, and it obviously comes down to price structure too. You want to get in a good zone, in a good area, to go long or short, but you want a potential fuel on your side as well. So, and it's been going quite well. So that's the way we attack the currencies and look for those washouts as well, because they're much more prevalent. It's a big word for me. Prevalent in the currencies. So if you want to chat about currencies, feel free to whack them into chat. Otherwise, I'll just keep chatting about what we're looking at. AMC. I don't know if anyone saw the alert come out today. I was a bit slow up on that. I think it was trading around 15. It was trading around here, 15.50 just on the open, and I just could not get my alert out fast enough. And I was looking for that 65, push through 15.65, just through this high. And pretty much as I was putting together the alert, it went through there. So that's something we followed a bit. in the past, and you can see that price action. That looks great. And if you go back to a weekly, look at this type of price action. It's had that contracted lower, washed out the lows, even touched down at the support zone, and then edged its way higher. Again, lower highs, taking out the lows, contracting. You got that low held up at 14, and then we took out these previous lower highs, which is great. So then we're looking for this to be a bit of a retest and then go. Dragging some more buys, so just dragging it down to the daily chart. And that's what played out beautifully. And this is just a very minor level to work off. You got potentially, people might be, I don't know why they'd be selling it, to be honest, but you can see this with the MAs, a little contraction lower, and then just as another last-ditch confirmation was pushing through 1565, so just missed that. Sid, yeah, we'll have a look at that in a sec, Paul. But yeah, with this one, AMC, I think this could have, you just take into account that weekly structure, it could start attacking 1650 and above, and extending that, so you got that projection of leg from the low to high, 12 to 1650, say. What do we got? $4.50 there. If you take it from about, say, 14, 1850 potentially, as an extension of that leg up, and just continue on that sort of trend on the weekly charts. But that's looking good, yeah. A bit miffed. Miffed has been a nice word that we missed that one, but that happens. What else we got running? MND. That's pushed down a bit. Didn't expect that today. That might have taken us out. I'll just see. MND. We booked a partial on that 12.10. I don't think I've got my stop all the way back there, to be honest, but we'll just check. Sorry guys, just checking to see while I'm looking at it. Yep, still at 12.10, alright. So you can see we're just keeping it just below this higher low in here. I mean, it could easily pull back, correct, if we just make that a bit bigger. Pull back, correct in there, and then build that higher low. Some could be around here, and then go again straight up through 13.20, but we'll see how that goes. Either way, that weekly, I think it's looking quite good. Coming off a higher low on the weekly basis, we're going to get that daily action, chopping around. But we'll see. That should keep going with any luck. We've booked on that, I think, anyway. MND. No, we haven't. That's slightly down on that one now. All right, what else we got? OGC, which is hanging in there. It's looking good. I think that's all we got at the moment. We've just got GOLD. I don't know if anyone saw this alert coming out, but it's the gold ETF, the physical gold ETF. As a proxy, obviously trading gold. I really like that chart. I think the weekly, if we go back and we'll just draw it up here, that we'll get a bit more data. Actually, go back to the weekly. Look at that, this price action. I think it looks awesome. I think as trades goes, price structure goes, that looks nice. Let's just get my chart up properly. Has anyone been watching this GOLD? You get the highs through here, which is trade up to, fell a little bit short just in here, but it's been holding, really nice higher lows. Even it's got a bit faster up there. These higher lows in here, and just getting up to a key level on the weekly. Yep, we're on the weekly. Just if it can pop up through that 16, probably about where it is now, 300. Then I think that's going to just kick on, and we might get this accelerated price action up towards 1700, sorry, and even up to the highs if we can just get that really kicking on strong. But that price action there is quite nice. You can see it holding through here. What's that, about 1300? That base it built through there, even a bit of a washout, holding that trend higher, starting to take out, took out those little lower highs in there, and you can see that it pulled back, built a major high low, and then accelerated up, so you've got a leg up. I'll just draw that in a different colour so it stands out a bit better. But in the way of price action, what we like, that's good, that's nice. And if we can get, this is where it's going from again, potentially that can take us up, probably a touch above those highs. That would be awesome. We'll just see how that goes. But that weekly price action, really do like it. I think it's just going on with it now. Yeah, it's just getting through those highs now. So 16,280 was our entry with a break up through this little minor high. and it's just 16,300 now. So see if they can keep going. That's looking good. All right, I think that's probably about the ones we've got at the moment. Sonic Health. No, that's a cracker that's going. That price. Oh, gee, it's really kicking on. So I haven't looked at that for a little bit. Up 3% today. That's now just in the way entries go, guys. I guess if you've been watching us for a while, I just wanted to chat about this one in particular, and why we had a slightly different entry than what we normally do. Let me just draw it up here. And we'll just get into that little zone there. So just going back and forth, let's just start. So looking at the weekly, you can see it's grown high. Had a bit of a nice flush out there. Lower highs as it contracted back down. Found a nice little base at 1700. Just washed out those highs a bit, but then had to pull back with some lower highs and build a nice inside, I guess you'd call it high low at 21. So if we're working a leg up off that, and potentially that's the leg that we've got, say from 17 up to 24, that's got a lot of room to move on the upside on the weekly basis anyway. So I think we're coming off a beautiful zone on the weekly. You can see with that break up through there, we pushed up through this little resistance zone through 22.5, popped up through, come back, retest it, and then went again. So the reasoning behind why we bought it just in here on this pullback was just off the daily. So the weekly's the main chart we've gone from that we built the trade off, and it was in a beautiful little zone. And you can see from the daily, as opposed to what we would normally do, I guess, which would probably be an entry just through this high. It's a bit more aggressive entry, but it's off really strong price action. So it's just a different style of entry if anyone's sort of been following us for a while now. But either way, that's really kicked on strong. So I think at the time we were looking at it just through a push up, because you can see that, okay, that's a minor double bottom in it. Remember, that's the weekly. It's a beautiful zone off the weekly charts. So it's got quite a few big factors working for it. And buying it through that little pop up there, it did pull back. And then it said the last couple of days it's gone hard. And just, I think since we've been speaking, it's just taken out those highs at 23.75, thereabouts. So that's looking awesome. So we'll probably have to look at, I'll send an alert later on just to get a bit of a potential profit target on that. A partial exit anyway. But we'll see how it goes. Does that make sense, guys? So that's a slightly different entry. You just want to see, you can see that price action there. It's pushed down. It's had a bit of a reaction off that zone. And when it went to push down again, it only really washed out those previous lows from a few days prior. And then you thought, well, there's a clear entry there through 22.75. I think we've got it at 22.80. Actually, we've got it on the open of this candle, which is 84. So we got it after that, actually. I think I took it a tad late. So we got that push down, reaction back up, push down, and we washed out these lows only by a few cents or so. And then we had this reaction up. So I was pretty happy to buy it on a pop back up through to 22.80. And it did it when it gapped up. I think it was on this candle just there. It's 84. Yeah, 84 there. So that's just a slightly bit more aggressive entry. And it's just after this type of price action what we've seen, and we know that's off that weekly zone. So does that make sense in the way of entry setups? Why we looked at this one, why we traded this one, as opposed to an entry through the highs there and a risk all the way down here. So it's really just, you've got some nice price action. It's just really a nice way to minimize risk off a solid zone, a very solid price action, a price structure. But anyway, that's just kicking on very strong. So I was just updating a few things. So, Paul, we'll take a look at SID. Let's take a look. So anything else, guys, whack it in the chat. Anything you want to look at all? Yeah, just looking at that weekly, you can see it's pretty clear. It's had a really strong run up. This is the first major correction it's had. Now, there's no reason why it can't just kick on with it, and that's the start of another leg up. But if you're going to project it out, that's a massive projection from 3 up to 750, 450. Well, not really. So somewhere up around 10.50, $11 could be the projection of that leg as a rough estimate. You can see the market's pushed up, consolidated through here, way back in 2010 to 12. So if you take, that's the leg up without really a correction. That's the first major correction we've had. It's just held, that 575 zone to 600, just held in there, and it's working its way up off that at the moment on a weekly basis. Very extended up into these highs, which is quite clear. You can see that. Doesn't mean it can't bust through, but it's just mean for anyone new to the fray, it's a lower probability trade. Lower probability entry if you're just going to buy it here, because then realistically your stop would have to be way down here below the major high low. You can tighten it up through here, but it's a very, like I said, we're trading probability and trading risk and all that. It's a very high risk, low probability trade, for the way I would look at it anyway, because we are getting a bit extended on the weekly and the daily up here. So we may expect it may just punch through, keep going, prove us all wrong, but and then people are chasing it. But I think that would be more of a bit of a blowout than anything else, blowout of the highs, and then it starts correcting back down, and just anyone who's bought it just at these highs getting washed back out again, and then building a major higher low. So I think you're right. Is that trading on a very high PE? Yeah. So I think I would expect some reaction off this level just by looking at those two charts, and this leg up from here, the good part of the year, isn't it? From 6 to 750 or so. It really hasn't, just that move up there hasn't had any decent correction either. So, like I was saying, what I would expect is more of what I would expect to see. What I would want to see if I was going to trade it is correction off this high. 760, it could just blast up through there, and then a bit of this price action, a big correction, and then start to build, and then you're looking for that failed continuation lower in the way of a higher low. We know our risk is it may consolidate for a while like it did through here, build a major base, and then you've got that higher low in there. This is great as an opportunity wise. That's a cracker. Just in buying it through 515, where your risk can just be below 590, so minimal risk, and look at the payout. Awesome. Before you even had to worry about it, it was all the way up at potentially nearly $6. Sorry, nearly $7. Say 680 from 615. Is that 6? That's 615 just through here. So that was 2 to 3 to 1, 2 or 3 to 1 on that little trade there. So you can see the reasoning behind it. Nice push down, good reaction off that support zone in here at 580, all the way back down to retest it. Lower high, but what it did then is this exact price action what we'd like to see. Built that higher low in here at 595, so that's just a sign of buyers are starting to take control, buyers are stepping in, and then you just expect it to push up out of contraction, off a higher low, and that was a beautiful little entry, if we were watching it back then, through that zone there, and look what it's done. So that's ideally what I'd love to see play out again. Maybe it washes out those highs and then pulls back, but just remember, if that pulls back from here, that's a double top, which is a very negative price action. So you're probably going to get a corrective action of some sort, but it could potentially pull all the way back down to 580. It's got a lot of room to move, and it can easily pull back, build a high low, back around here, this sort of zone, 550, 60, 70, even, up a bit higher at $7. It may do that, and then look for this type of price action. Maybe a double bottom there, high low, something that's showing evidence of buyers jumping in. Does that make sense? Does that help? All right. Anything else, guys? You got in that one, Paul? Or? Well, we're on still. We're on. Still good. CKF. Let's have a look. I don't mind this one, to be honest. I can tell you why we like it. Or I like it anyway. And this is, if you look at just go to the weekly, it's pretty obvious what that price action is doing. It's headed up, consolidated, but held higher lows on a weekly with lower highs, so it really contracted in. We bought it somewhere in here and got a lot of this run up, I think. And then you've built this lower high. But it's really just cooling off some of this strong move up to 680 thereabouts. So I do like that. That's off the weekly. If we just go and worry about what's happening here, in relation to that, that'll do. I think it looks good. It looks good. Let's just get that there. All right. So you've got that low there, and you can see that sudden price action there. Then it's pushed up, and then it's worked its way down, hit a higher low, lower high, really contracted in there. And that's what we'd love to see again. And yeah, that's the ultimate high that you want to be concerned with. But pushing up, holding some higher lows, and starting to get a bit of acceleration to the upside. That's what we'd like to see. At the moment, we haven't got it just yet. It may be this is the first stage. You can see these little candles here starting to show a bit of rejection of a move down. Potentially, it's still holding lower highs. You can see that market's contracting down in itself. I like this. We've had that move down, a reaction back up, and then a stronger move down. Okay, you can see that it's gapped down. It just blew people out of the water. But it's really just this little move through 5 is a bit of a washout, and that's where it broke out previously. So technically, there's a few things lining up there, which are looking quite good. We've had that reaction up, nice strong reaction, especially after this negative move. But then what we'd like to see is a higher low holding here, and maybe, for prices to start work its way up again. So if you can get that, that's what we'd like to see. A bit of maybe something like this, and then a bit like this price action in here, and get our entry signal potentially for an accelerated move up, take out these highs, and then it may only get up to 6 and then roll over again, but at least it gives us something to put up our sleeve. But I'd suggest that price action could lead to, it's probably got a bit more work to do. It's in prime position, you can see with the stochastics. It's been sold down, but the buyers are stepping in a bit earlier, at 510 rather than letting it get down to 480, 490. They're stepping in, they're soaking up that pressure from the sellers. So that to me is suggesting that's going to hold that higher low, and then it's going to work its way back up to, maybe 3 or 570, so on, so forth. See if we can get up through there. Does that make sense there, Paul? But I think it's just a little bit more work to do. The only thing we've got the MAs on it against it. If we go back to the weekly, but on the weekly chart, the MAs are working for it. So, it'd be nice to see that. I think it's sort of at this stage at the moment. Or potentially, maybe get a bit choppy, but you just want to see, again, holding some higher lows. So it's dropped suddenly today. Does anyone know why there's been no news on it? Where's Farmers? Let's see if I can pull so. It's a good drop, isn't it? 3%. Yeah, I don't know, Paul. I haven't followed this one, but interesting to see if anyone knows some news out there on West Farmers. Let's just see. It pops up with something, but unless there's something in the pipeline that somebody knows, which you're not meant to, but they do, and they're selling it down. Yeah, I don't know, but that is an interesting little drop. But still, that's a massive long-term consolidation through there. It's consolidated, tried to go higher, pushed back down to the lows. Tried to go higher, lower high just in here, so it's not looking the best either way. Let's just see. From a charting perspective, I wouldn't touch it. Yeah, okay. It probably is. Good old Amazon. Probably a bit of press, just falling out of love with the funds, maybe. And you see it's a lot of nothing through there, just choppy, 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 and this is sort of what I'm looking at right there. So this could lead to a bit more contractions from lower highs, and I think that's going to put a fair bit of pressure and a move down to 37. And the second time where it can't get through these highs, it may roll over, it may come right back. So you probably find it's some bigger, who knows, the funds are not loving it anymore. They don't see any, a rosy outlook for it much anymore, especially on the technicals. Maybe the fundamentals will say the same thing. Potentially there's just a fair bit of exiting there. Who knows? Yeah, no, you could easily buy some puts up the top, or sell some calls and vice versa. Buy some calls when it heads down to the bottom end of the range. All right, anything else, guys? Fairly quiet stream today. Just see where the market's up 12. Popped up a bit, which is looking good. AFY, I'm keen on hitting that. Seeing if we can touch up at 295. All right, if there's nothing else, is there anything else you want to look at, Paul, or anyone else in there? Chuck up a chart into the chat, and we'll see how we go. All right. Doesn't look like there's anything else to have a bit of a look at. That's a bummer. Got that. OGC looks like it could go again. We'll just see how that goes. Well, if there's nothing else to look at, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll call it a day a bit shorter here. Enough anyway. So, yeah, no worries, Paul. No worries. Thanks, mate, for joining us. Thanks for the questions. Always great. Good to hear. I will try to give you a call a bit later. Probably tomorrow. It's a bit quieter, being a Friday. Otherwise, thanks very much for joining us, guys, and we will be back again on Monday. If there's anything in particular you want to focus on, any ideas, feel free to send us an email to support@tradesetup.com.au, and then we'll focus in on it. We'll try that on Monday, or anything else at all. So, so thanks for joining us, guys. We'll speak to you then anyway. Cheers. Bye.